Well, Carol, are you ready?
I am ready.
And let's begin the Purim celebration. And here we go. And once there was a wicked, wicked man, and Haman was his name. He lied and lied about the Jews, though they were not to blame. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be, and not some hamintashen. Boy, I'm singing like I'm drunk already. I can't even hold this tune. I've always had a problem with this song, but that's okay because I'm not supposed to know the difference between the name of Haman and you're supposed to be so drunk you're not supposed to know the difference between Haman and Mordechai. You're supposed to be that drunk, and I'm not even started yet. But by the time this party is over, you know what? It just might be that. So let me start off on behalf of Carol and I to wish everybody Chag Sameach, Happy Purim. You betcha. It's the one time of the year where we get to have frivolity, hamantashen, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and tell the story of Esther and Mordechai and the saving of the Jews and be happy about it. And yet, in our little time together, not only are we going to celebrate, not only are we going to sing, not only are we going to have some really deep discussion, but we're probably going to take Purim to a level that you have never seen it before. And once again, for those that don't know who we are, I'm Andy Greenberg, and this is
Carol.
And as always, Carol has absolutely
no idea
about what?
What's going on?
And the reason for that is because I don't sit here and tell her what to say. And even if I tried to, what do you think? You think she would listen to me? No. No, she would not listen to me. So let's begin with first a little telling of the story. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, come on, Andy. I know the story. Look, I've been around for a while. I went to Hebrew school. I've been to Purim services before. I know the entire story. So don't waste my time. Well, you know what? I have to. I am obligated to tell you the story. Why? Because it says, according to the rabbinical rules, because this is a rabbinical holiday, that even though you know the story, even though you know the ins and outs of Purim every year, you and me are obligated to read the book of Esther, to read Megillat Esther. Now, here's a couple of interesting things. You might or might not be aware of, Carol, that in the Jewish religion, do you have to perform every mitzvah?
You mean me as a woman?
Yes.
No.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
I know I don't.
Nope. It's the time-honored mitzvot that women are exempt from. They don't have to go to shul. There's lots of things they don't have to do for a lot of different reasons that we're not going to get into today. But there are exceptions. And what do you think one of those exceptions are?
Well, since we're talking about Purim, it must be Purim.
And what about Purim?
I don't have to go to synagogue.
Wrong again. You are obligated. That again, that wasn't fair. You as a woman are obligated. This is one of the few obligations that are the exceptions. That you have to be able to hear and read, I should say, the Megillah Esther. So don't worry, I'm not going to sit here for an hour with the entire scroll and tell you the whole story, because I do want you to read it on your own. But let's see if together we cannot recreate the story. Now, Carol, you taught the Hebrew preschool for many, many years.
Yes, I did.
Sunday, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a while. As a matter of fact, she actually formed a preschool at a JCC in Manchester, New Hampshire. So we're going to work on this together. I don't have my notes in front of me. So let's begin. How does this whole story start?
This whole story starts with Queen Vashti.
Yeah.
Queen Vashti, who was ordered by the king to perform for him and his friends. And she said, no.
Wait a minute. Let's just go a little bit deeper here. What do you mean by perform for her friends?
I think he wanted her to dance or entertain his friends.
How did he want him to entertain his friends?
Oh, probably not in a very nice
You see,
manner.
There's one thing they didn't teach you in Hebrew school.
Well, you don't teach witch coolers back.
No, even Hebrew school.
Okay.
What the king wanted Vashti to do, she was so beautiful, he wanted her to dance in front of her friend, his friends,
not wearing any clothing.
naked, totally naked. Wow. And Vashti said,
No way.
no way, Jose, and gave up what?
Gave up the queenship.
Gave up the queenship. And all of a sudden, what happened? The king needed a queen. So
So
what
he
happened?
put a call out to the land for the
Yes.
most beautiful woman that he could find.
Yes.
And Mordecai heard of this. And
Yes.
said, I think I'm going to send my cousin Esther. But you know what? We never know whether Esther's his niece or his cousin. But anyway, he told her to go and do this because the Jews were having a problem. And he said, if you can get in there and do something about it, then you should do that.
Yes. And by the way, it was almost like America's Got Talent, because Esther did not just walk into the palace and say, hey, king, I'm here. She had to compete in a beauty contest.
She did.
And the call went out to the entire land of Persia. By the way, what is Persia today? It is the country of Iran. It is the country of Iran. And before I continue with the story, about 2 years ago, right before Purim, Iran went through a tremendous amount of devastation right before Purim. And there are certain times during history that there are events that occurred in Iran right before Purim. So people might say, hey, did it happen by accident? Did it happen by design? Well, where are we? All right, so here we go. Let's continue with the story. You remember this so far? By the way, you want to fill in the blanks? Here we go. So what happened after that? So she becomes the queen. And then one day.
But she doesn't tell him that she's Jewish.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't tell him that she's Jewish. Right. She kept a secret, which means what? Jews are capable of doing what?
Keeping a secret.
I got a question for you. Do you know any Jews that can keep a secret?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know a lot of Jews that can keep a secret?
No.
But now is an example of one that does. All right, let's move a little bit further on the story. The Megillah of Esther. So then one day, Mordecai was sitting in front of the castle, or the gates into the city of Shushan. And what happened? Well, all of a sudden, he kind of like overheard a story. And he overheard a story that there was going to be a plotting of the king. And he was able to get a message to the king, not directly, by saying, hey, these two dudes are going to assassinate you. And of course, it was written down that Mordecai did this. They did not disclose that there was a relationship between Mordecai and Esther, or that Esther was Jewish, and the king was saved. And then one day, Mordecai is walking around town and meets this guy, Haman. I got a job for you. When I say Haman, I know when I'm going to say it. You don't. Okay, here we go. So, by the way, so you don't know when I'm going to say Haman. So, yeah, good. All right. So, one day he's walking down the street and Haman approaches him. And Haman says to him, my name is Haman. You gotta wait. You gotta wait. Okay. So, and then he said, bow down to me. And what did Mordecai say? I am not bowing down to you. It ain't going to happen. No way, Jose. Not going to happen. Well, Haman didn't like that. So Haman went to the king and said, there are strange people among us. These people are no good. They are bad for your kingdom. They did not bow down to me, Haman. And I am the first in charge. I am your chief of staff. You got to do something about that. Ha-ha. So what did the king say? By the way, his name was Achashverosh. What did King Achashverosh? Notice, Achashverosh, what did he say? Do whatever you want. I got trust in you. So he decided to kill all the Jews. Decided to kill all the Jews. That's what he decided to do. Not just this guy Mordecai, but to rid the entire city and the entire country of Persia with the Jews. And a lot of Jews there at the time. By the way, you might ask, and I hope you would, when did all this happen?
I think somewhere like 13th of Adar.
13th, 14th, 15th of Adar. Yes, those are the time periods. But what year?
I don't know.
They say the 5th century BCE. The 5th century BCE is when this entire story apparently, and I use the word selectively, and I'll tell you why later, apparently took place. All right, well, let's get back to the story. So he said to Haman, kill the Jews. Haman decided to have, I didn't even realize I did it, to have, very good, to have lots and to what day the Jews would be killed. Aha. Now, Mordecai found out about it. Mordecai said to Esther, Esther, you got to do something about this. All your people are getting killed. Uh-oh, not a good thing. And Esther said, I can't do anything. I can't go in front of Achashverosh. The reason why I can't go in front of Achashverosh, even though he's my husband, I must have an appointment. And if I don't have an appointment, he will kill me. Yes, the most beautiful lass in the land. His rules are that strict. All right. It became a problem. What do we do? Well, it turns out that one night, the king couldn't sleep. And he called for his people and he said, hey, bring me my books. Bring me my books. I want my books. And he got his books. And what he found out was, as he read his old books, that there was his fellow Mordecai who helped save his life.
Oh, he didn't remember it, or he didn't know it?
He knew it, but he didn't, it's sometimes like you read a diary or something, when you're king of Persia, come on, let's face it, you got so many things you got to remember. And I guarantee you that probably wasn't the first time somebody was trying to kill him. Aha. And now comes the twisting of the plot. You can't make up stories like this.
Well,
or can you? Or can you? All right. So he wakes up in the morning and says, send me this guy, Mordecai. I want to thank this guy. Well, Mordecai gets over to the temple, and Haman was going to kill him because Haman had decided earlier to take Haman on a horse.
Haman on a horse?
I'm sorry, Mordecai on a horse. Thank you. Mordecai on a horse, and bring him through town, hang him, that he would be the first Jew. And then what happened? Uh-oh, they all meet in the king's palace. It was Mordecai. It was Haman. It was Esther. And he thanked him so much. The king thanked Mordecai to save his life. And then all of a sudden, the truth came out. The truth actually came out, where Esther was saying, hey, your buddy Haman wants to kill Mordecai. What, are you losing energy? That was feeble. I mean, I don't mind. I got to tell you, that was feeble. All right. Anyway, so he calls him out and says, you know what? Your man Haman was going to kill Mordecai and the entire Jews. And he's the guy that saved you. And he was going to take him on a horse, hang him by a tree, and kill him. And Achashverosh said, not good. I'm going to save all the Jewish people. And Haman is going to be the one to be killed. And Haman was killed. Absolutely killed, as well as Haman's 10 sons. And as a result, you're getting feeble again. You should have done it 10 times more for the 10 sons. All right. And then what Mordecai did is he wrote a letter to all the people in the Jewish community in Persia and said, to this day, we shall always be remembered. And basically, Carol, does that match with the story you told your kids, except for the naked lady?
Just about, yeah, just about, a little bit, but probably not that much in detail. I probably condensed quite a bit. So at that point, though, did Esther ever say, I am Jewish?
That's a very good question. I believe so. You know what? I don't want to shoot from the hip. I think she did.
She just said, hey,
it's my people. Yeah, I think she did. I think she did. Okay. That's a good question. I think she did. So, and that's why you got to keep on reading this thing every year. Now, there were a couple of other things that occurred. You see, the day before all the Jews were supposed to be killed, the day before, they called for a fast of all the Jewish people right before the day of the apparent extermination of the Jews.
They knew they were going to be exterminated?
Yeah, because of because of lots in the whole 9 yards. Right. Okay? And every Jew fasted, every Jew, which is why today, for those that observe it, the day before Purim, what do we do? Or what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to fast in honor. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed our Purim celebration together because
Not the end of the story.
well, they're obligated to hear the story. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. But no, guess what?
What?
There's
more.
There's more. And you know what I think we do wrong? I think we trivialize the whole story of Purim, and we really do not examine what it's about. We really do not examine all of the beautiful traditions. And some of these are actually going to surprise you. So the first thing I want to share with you is that I remember sitting in synagogue in Omaha, Nebraska, many, many, many years ago. I don't know, maybe probably 20, 25 years ago. It was, I believe it was what they call Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat before Purim. And the rabbi was delivering a sermon. And you know me, I went to yeshiva. I studied Judaism. I like Judaism. I probably know more now than I ever did. And I probably don't know enough to be very open with you. And then what the rabbi said, I don't think the story of Purim ever occurred. All the blood from my brain drained. I was shocked. I grew up with Purim. I went to Purim. I went to the reading of the Megillah Esther. I did everything. I believed in Purim. And here comes a rabbi saying, the story might not have happened. Wow, what a shock. Did you know that? I know once in a while you might have heard that. Have you ever heard that? Have you questioned it?
Well, I heard it recently and I said, wow, really?
Yes.
Okay.
You betcha. Now, here's a question, obviously. Did it happen or didn't happen? Is there a king called Ahasuerus? Can anyone find them in the history books? Well, the answer is basically no. But there was another king who lived at the time of that period. And of course, he had a different name. And there was no Esther that anybody could find in the history books. And remember, Megillah Esther was written after the whole event occurred. It's like history being written afterwards. And they could never, ever match the names. They could never even match the years that this thing occurred. So with that being said, if it is a fictitious holiday, should we close our Zooms or our TV sets? Should we turn off anything having to do with Purim? Should we refund and not bake our hamantashen? If you got them, give them back because they're a bunch of, it's senseless. Or should we keep the tradition of the holiday, even if it is phony? And I'm going to give you a little slant on it a little bit later. What do you think, Carol?
No, I think we should keep it. It's a holiday we've grown up with. It's a holiday that symbolizes that the Jews got themselves out of a predicament, and it's a fun holiday. It's the holiday that shows you could overcome something. You can get out of a problem.
So basically, you take a fictitious story and you make a holiday out of it. The holiday is just a potentially phony baloney.
Fun.
Oh, just because it's fun. And we have all these laws about Passover. Pardon me, about Purim. I said Passover for a reason, and I'll tell you why later. Have all these laws. But here's something that's very interesting. Have you heard of a fellow by the name of Maimonides?
Yes, I did.
And what about Maimonides? Who was he?
He's a great philosopher.
Great philosopher, physician, and Jewish thought person way back when in the 13th century. He believed in Purim. He made so many declarations, including the following. Not only do you have to read the Megillah Esther word for word, but if you skip a word or you pronounce it wrong, you got to go back. You should be able to do it in your native language if you don't know the Hebrew. You should be hearing it twice a day, in the evening of Purim and during the daytime of Purim. And of course, Purim has so many different holidays, so many different customs to them. Forget about the costume parties. We'll get to that in a moment. But what you have to do is shalach manot. You have to give baskets. You have to give money to charity. All this for a fictitious holiday? I personally do not believe it's fictitious. And here's an extremely important lesson. If this occurred, let me rephrase, this occurred in the 5th century BCE. It is for the most part, after a child turns 10 years old, it is for the most part forgotten. We know that kids go there for all the revelry and the costumes, and they stay up late, and we give them the hamantaschen and the cookies and the social ice cream and everything we want to get them there. But after 10 years, hard to find a young kid in a conservative or reform synagogue. It is possibly forgotten, and people are saying it never happened. So what's my point?
Yes, what's your point?
Watch this. My point is, we were almost annihilated. That's a true story. You bet. And people forgot. Here's a question. About 1,000 years from now, who in the world will think that the Holocaust didn't happen? As a matter of fact, why wait 1,000 years? Isn't that happening today? Isn't that happening today when you have Yom HaShoah, the annihilation of Jewish people? The annihilation of Jewish people. That when you come to the Yom HaShoah commemorations, that the synagogues are loaded with survivors. They're loaded with the survivors' children. They're loaded maybe with the survivors' grandchildren. But where's today's younger generation? Almost like Purim. Past a particular age, they're gone. And I say boo-ha to those people that didn't think that this story occurred. I say a bunch of malarkey, because it did occur. And it occurred because we Jews have a fantastic ability to get ourselves out of jams. And you know what they also call it? There's a prayer that we say, Al Hanisim, for the miracles. But here's a strange thing. How many times in the book of Esther does the word God appear?
I don't think any.
None. So where's the miracle? Where is the miracle?
Well, the miracle was performed by ordinary people.
Well, then it's not a miracle. A miracle is performed by God. A miracle can be directly connected to the control and the will of God. Where's the miracle?
Miracle is that we're still here.
But what does that have to do with Purim?
I don't know.
Here is the miracle. It reminds me of the story of the donkey, the talking donkey, and Matovu. What does that mean? Well, there was this one guy that hired another guy to curse the Jews. It's Balaam or Balak. I always confuse the two. I'll never get that straight in my life. And one of them is supposed to go out, stand on top of a mountain, and curse the Jews. Okay, fine. He's on his way there. There's an angel in front of the path. The donkey sees the angel. He stops. The rider kicks him 3 times. Finally, he says, "Hey, stupid, don't you see the angel in front of you?" He said, "No, I don't see him." And then they realize it was God, and then he's God's angel. And then he goes to the top of the mountain and he blesses the Jews with Matovu. All of that happened behind the scenes. The Jews never even knew this story until they read the Torah, because they were not part of it. That in itself is a miracle. And what is the miracle of Purim? Aha. Being at the right place.
At the right time.
At the right time. Being at the right place at the right time. The sequence of events. Mordechai overhearing these people plotting. The sequence of events.
A long time ago. King waking up at night, deciding to read his book.
Yes. Yes. If there is faith, which is what Purim is about. If there is faith that these things did not occur on their own, if there is faith that these things occurred as a result of God pushing the buttons, if we believe that in our lifetime, people have approached us and came to us and told us things, and we happen to be at the right place at the right time, we have to reflect back on the miracle of Purim and say, wow, wasn't that something? I didn't even know it. I didn't even see it. And that's why, in my opinion, we need to have an obligation to revive Purim. To, yes, we should love the hamantaschen. Yes, we should love the drivers. Yes, we should go in costumes. because that is all part of the tradition. For least we forget it. And there are some people that might even suggest, ready for this, that Purim is even more important than Passover.
Really?
Yeah, there are some people that would suggest that Purim is more important than Passover. And here's why. Passover, we're never going to forget. We do this. We do the Seder. And I dare say 1,000 years from now, we will still have Seders. Now, they might be the 5-minute version, but we will have Seders. Okay? But I dare say that if we do not revive Purim, we won't. But here's the good news. Israel, you know what they do for Purim? Yeah. They got parades. They got costume parties. They're all in the streets. They really play it up. And not just the 10-year-olds. I'm talking about the whole city. The whole city of Tel Aviv, the whole city of Jerusalem, the whole city of Haifa. Every city celebrates like crazy. It's Purim. They love the holiday because they recognize what the freedom is that the Jewish people were able to attain. Now, I've chatted a little bit. Give me your impression of my relationship, drawing a relationship between the Holocaust, Passover, Purim, near annihilation, etc. Then I'll share another miracle with you.
Well, from listening to you, you're saying that Passover is something that no matter, even if you're not observant, people remember every single year. They might not do 2 nights, they might do 1 night, but it's something because it's an exodus. We were taken out of slavery, we became free, we got the 10 Commandments. Purim is I mean, we were almost exterminated, but it's a holiday. I don't understand why. I mean, I don't understand why it is popular. But you're saying that it might go away eventually. And what was the other one?
And I related the story of Purim with the fact that it needs to be remembered
along with the Holocaust.
Yes.
The Holocaust is very interesting because in the schools, and there are people that do not believe it happened. The same way that you're saying that Purim might, the way the story is being told might not have happened that way, but the true story is that we were going to be exterminated and we were saved. We got ourselves out of a jam. But there are people that just do not think that the Holocaust ever happened.
And that's my point. Here's something else that's interesting that probably nobody ever pointed out to you. If we go back to the story of Purim, okay, the guy wanted to kill the Jews. We got that. Hitler wanted to kill the Jews. We got that. Somebody finally convinced Achashverosh, don't do it.
Right.
And it was a Jewish lady, Esther, as a result of Mordecai being there at the right time and the whole 9 yards. Okay, let's go back to the time of the Holocaust. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He had some tough decisions. Do we go into the World War II and save the Jews and save Germany, or do we stay the heck out of it? And you know who convinced him to go ahead and to get into the war?
What?
A Jewish friend of his.
Really?
Yep. I forget the guy's name, but doesn't matter.
They knew that this was happening a long time before. It took them that long to.
It doesn't matter. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was on the fence about going into the war. And the Holocaust was brought to him, and he was convinced to do it by a Jewish friend of his. Isn't that interesting? What a parallel. Is that by miracle or not? All right, I'm going to throw something else out that reminds me of the Purim miracle as well as the miracle of the Holocaust. And no, I'm not talking about Israel. I believe that there was a miracle that occurred at the Holocaust. The original decree was exactly like Haman's decree, wasn't it? Kill all the Jews. Let's get rid of them. Had enough of them. They're different. They're not like us. We don't want them. We don't need them. Kill them. They signed the final decree. Haman signed the final decree. And of course, I'm not going to make a relationship that Hitler and Haman both start with an H, okay? But we're not going to get there. But here's the point. The point is the fact that the Jews were not annihilated. 6 million were killed. Never should have happened. No explanation. Don't ask me why. But not everybody was killed.
So you're saying that's the miracle.
I'm
the miracle
saying,
was That the final decree was not carried out all the way.
Final decree was not carried out all the way because some Jew convinced Franklin Delano Roosevelt to get into the war. Did you ever think of that before? That's the beauty of Purim, in my opinion. That's the beauty of the entire celebration. And of course, we have the hat of Haman. Oh, yes. Where did...
Oh, I was too busy.
Yeah, now some people say it's his ears. Some people say it's his hat. We're all adults here, okay? So I'm going to tell you something where people think that what else the Hamantashen looks like, and you don't find this in schools, but it is written in certain places. It is also, and don't get mad at me, I'm just a messenger. It is also in the shape of a woman's genital.
I knew you were going there.
Okay.
Which means that we're paying homage to Esther instead of Haman.
That's right. That's right. There's another factoid you didn't know. So as I always say, when you're with me, if you got a bunch of new facts, get a hold of your Hebrew school principal and
get your money back.
And get your money back. Okay. But there's more. There's more.
So
here's another thing. What's more important, Purim or Hanukkah?
Oh, well, it's the same thing. We won the battle. We overcame with a small army and we beat a big army, and the oil, the thing lasted for 8 days.
I got that.
I don't know.
No, so what's the difference?
What's
the difference between Purim and Hanukkah?
Purim is more important than Hanukkah.
Okay, can you prove it? I can't. Can you? That's a rhetorical question.
How can you prove it? No, I'm just saying that we beat the odds of being exterminated over the fact that they beat an army and that the oil lasted 8 days.
So here's why Purim is more important. Watch this. Because there's the book of Megillah Esther was the very last book of the entire collection of Jewish texts. There is a book of the Maccabees, but the book didn't make it. It's not studied. It's not part of the writings and the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim and the Torah. Of course, it's not part of the Torah, but it is the last of the books that the rabbis included. And here's something else strange about Purim you never thought about before. How many of us light Purim candles?
We don't light
Purim candles. Isn't that interesting? And we don't say a prayer called a Hallel. Some of us know that because the miracle did not happen in Israel. So are you learning things you didn't know? Are we doing a good job in connecting some of these things that you might not have thought about and not might have heard about? Because what I think we do with Purim, regrettably, is I think we just party it up, which is fine. You're supposed to do that because you're never supposed to forget. The rule of Purim says, always remember to wipe out the memory of the Amaleks. And Haman was a descendant of Amalek, or so they say. So, very good. So we are supposed to remember to always wipe out the memory of our enemies. Now, that kind of bothers me a little bit, but I get it, but it kind of bothers me just a little bit. So now here's a question. If you were Mordecai and Haman came over to you and said, bow down to me, would you have, or would you have done what Mordecai did, and that was not bow down? That's an interesting question for today. If you knew in advance that it could possibly lead to the extermination of the Jews, what would you have done? And I think that has a lot to do with what life is like about today. Why do I say that? Because there are a lot of people who will not identify themselves as living a Jewish life in front of non-Jews. They won't. They'll do whatever they can to hide their Judaism. I'm not talking about keeping kosher. I'm not talking about Shabbat. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. Okay? That's up to each individual. But yet, if you're born a Jew or you converted into Judaism, I don't know. I think Mordecai was kind of like teaching us a lesson for today's world. Don't be ashamed of being Jewish. Defend the heritage. Defend the history. What do you think?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really.
So the real question is, he refused to bow down, but has he thought that this was made in Would he have done that? Would he have bowed down?
I don't know. That's a good
We
question.
don't know.
We don't. That is
We don't know.
We don't know. But we absolutely should remember that in those days, by the way, here's something very interesting. Prior to this whole Esther story, were the Jews themselves who were going to be eliminated? Were they in fact practicing religious Jews?
I don't know. I don't know the answer
No.
to that.
The answer is no. No, they were not practicing religious Jews. And
So here's the interesting question, because Haman says, oh, they're different. If they weren't practicing Jews, what made them different? Just because the one guy wouldn't bow down?
Right. Yep, that's what he thought. That's exactly what he thought. Now, you know, I mentioned earlier about women being obligated to read the Megillah, but I didn't explain why.
Why?
What do you think?
To honor Esther.
Okay, very close. Yeah, to honor Esther, but also to remember that the story would not have occurred without women.
Without women.
Without women. And that is an important lesson for women today. Women stand up for themselves. Women are the ones that usually lead or are part of, obviously, the women's suffrage movement, but also way back when in New York City, the women's labor unions, the sewing unions, now that the memory comes back to me, and all of that. And Megillah Esther is kind of a strange thing. It's a scroll. Why isn't it like the Torah? Why isn't it just a regular book? Ever think of that question?
No.
No. So the answer is because it's supposed to look like a letter. It is supposed to look like a decree. So for that reason, it has its origins. But listen to this. There is such a thing called the tomb of Mordechai and Esther.
I never heard that one.
Yep. Go back and get
Where is it? Where is it?
The tomb of Mordechai and Esther is apparently lies 200 miles west of Tehran. 200 miles west of Tehran, and lies a tomb that has been the destination for countless Jewish pilgrims and celebrations dating back to millennia. I don't know if many people actually knew that.
Now, I didn't know that.
Yep. So here's another thing that's interesting. We're supposed to give shalach manot to friends. You know, one of the coolest things is you go to a friend's house, and when you go to a friend's house, you give them a gift. Well, you're not supposed to do that in the celebration of Purim. It should be delivered by a third party.
I didn't know that.
Not even directly.
Why?
It should be delivered to a third party, all part of a unanimous. Anonymous charity. Exactly correct. Okay. So yeah, that's another thing that we probably were unaware of, and we're supposed to give charity to the poor. And I got to tell you, has there been a better time right now to give charity to the poor? You know, those places in Texas that had the storms a couple of weeks back, how long do you think it'll take them to recover? How much money do you think they need to recover? And it's time to give charity. I had a friend of mine, Carol's friend, actually give us a call and told us a story about their kids, I believe, or their grandkids who were having some medical issues, and they were doing a fundraiser.
She was having the wife.
Yeah, the wife. Yeah. But the wife, it wasn't your friend, it was your family.
It's my friend and her daughter.
Oh, a friend and her daughter. They're having medical problems. They wanted to do some fundraising. They needed money for medical bills. Wrote a check right away. Not because it's Purim, or maybe it was. But that's one of the other lessons that it teaches us. And yes, we should party. And yes, we should be happy. And yes, we're going to get back to the frivolity. But we also, I believe, need to be educated into what Purim is really, really about and how we can get it done. And it was sometimes in the 5th century that in celebrating, Jews began to burn Haman in effigy. Here you go. And the tradition of fasting before the day of Purim in commemoration of Esther actually appears in writings of Rabbi Akiva in the late 6th century. Now, I got to ask you something. Guys like Maimonides, guys like Rabbi Akiva, Do you think they would have all these things happen just because of a made-up story? I don't think so. I really don't. And I don't think they needed proof of that whatsoever. And Carol has been doing a great job with the groggers. So where did this whole idea of the groggers come from?
Because I mean, you just obviously we hated Haman
Yeah.
so much we wanted to drown out his name. So I'm not sure about the groggers, but anything that would make noise to drown out the name.
Yes, and what occurred was when they finally decided, hey, we got to drown out his name, we're not going to scream and yell anymore. This actually started with kids. So what they actually started doing was taking rocks when they heard the name, and they went like this, and that made all the noise. And that was the original noisemaker rubbing rocks together.
Wow.
Yeah. See, these are things I don't think you actually knew. So here's something else that might be of interest. Was Queen Esther keeping kosher, or was she a vegetarian?
I think she was a vegetarian.
Yep. There is a suggestion that she was
a vegetarian.
That she was a vegetarian, and therefore Purim is an ideal time for Jews to shift toward vegetarian diets. By the way, I'm not in that group yet. I'm not interested in doing that. I just wanted to let you know I don't care about that. Not going to be. I'm not going to be doing that. All right. So, what questions do you have for me now, Carol? Before we kind of continue with our thing.
I just think it's amazing that there's so many facts that I did not know. I think it's just it's very interesting. Like you said, we were going to dig deeper.
Yep.
I think we have dug deep.
And we're going to go even deeper. You remember a guy by the name of Saddam Hussein?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had a pastry named after him.
He did?
Yeah, just for 1 year. In 1991, when he was gone, the Israelis celebrated, and for 1 year they had a snack. And you care to guess what the name of the snack was?
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, very close.
What?
Saddam Hatashin. Now, here's a very strange thing. I just thought of it. I'm telling you, I never thought of this before.
The H?
No, not the H. Not the H. This is unbelievable. We have been violating the rules of Purim many, many, many times. As a matter of fact, every time we eat a hamantashen, we violate the rules of Purim. And I bet you nobody ever told you that.
Nobody ever told me that. Please tell me that now.
Hamantashen. Haman-tashen. It's spelled the same way. Haman. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, every time I say, hey, Carol, let's have a hamantashen, you're supposed to do the groggers. Ever think of that? So here's what I want you to do. Next time you're having a hamantashen, take 2 rocks, rub them together, and you know what someone's going to say?
What are your rocks?
You're off your rockers, yeah.
You're off your rocker.
I'm telling you, the things that we miss. We absolutely miss them. All right. So there are some interesting facts too. That Purim is a green holiday, which means it's one of the first ones to really there. These days, many people are interested in learning how to make their holiday celebrations more eco-friendly. People are being vegetarians on Purim. And there is a theory that Yom Kippur happens, there is a relationship between Yom Kippur and the good holiday of Purim. And what is that? They both appear or happen on the equinox, around the time of the equinox. Is that by coincidence, or is that by design? All right, what else do we think might have happened during Purim? Anybody want to take any other guesses? Because it's also known as a feminist holiday. But I'm going to pause for a moment, because one of the things that we're supposed to hear is the Megillah. And I'm going to do 2 lines, the best I know how to do, in the trope of the Megillah. Vayomer HaMelech ma na'asa Yakut Hagdula LaMordechai et zeh Vayomru Narei HaMelech Misharatav lo na'aseh imo davar, vayomer hamelech mi b'chatzar, v'haman באו לחצון בית המלך החסידים שנאה לאמור למלך לתלות את מרדכי את העץ אשר הכנו. I didn't do that well, but some of them I got right, some of them I got wrong. The problem I always have, the tropes are the same as the Torah tropes, and sometimes I get it. I got the opening one right, but I fulfilled the commandment of reading the Megillah, Vayomer HaMelech, that part I got right. Me b'chatzer. I'm not going to finish it, but I thought I might give us a chance to do that. So what I want you to do is I want you to reflect a little bit about what you think Purim is about to you, because there are some other coincidences you probably are not aware of. The holiday occurs in the month of Adar, and Adar is supposed to be the happiest month of the year.
Really?
Yep, and we're supposed to party the whole time. I don't know about you, but I haven't had a drink yet. And it was also the time of the month, or the month of the year, when Moses was born and passed away. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Mordechai, Moses, Menachem Begin, Moshe Dayan, which can't be the same because they both lived at the same time. Maimonides with an M. Oh no, you can't tell me that that is totally by coincidence, because I am not going to buy it. Okay, I got to tell you that. Now, here's something else you probably didn't think of. And actually, one of my students taught me this. Ready for this? This is not for me. My student taught me this. Here it is. There is a relationship between the story of Jonah the whale and Purim.
Jonah the whale and Purim. Well, Jonah was inside the whale. He until he came to his senses. I don't know. I don't make that connection.
You know what it is?
What is it?
All right, here we go. What does the word Purim mean? To draw lots.
To draw lots.
Yes. Does that help you?
Okay.
Okay. In the story of Jonah the whale, what did they do?
They drew lots on the ship.
There it is.
They drew lots on the ship.
Yes.
To see who would get thrown overboard.
Yes.
And Jonah got thrown overboard.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I didn't think of that, but I tell you, I felt that was absolutely right. Absolutely bright. So there is some other things. You know what else? We're supposed to be happy. So let me give you 5 ways to be happy, because it's supposed to be a happy month. Here we go. Free your heart from hatred. And that comes from Leviticus. Free your mind from worries. That comes from the Talmud. Live simply. That comes from the Psalms. Give more. That comes from Deuteronomy. And here's one that's really important, and we even talk about it today. Expect less. And that comes from Jeremiah. And these are some of the keys on how to always stay happy. So what I want to try and do today is go ahead and maybe together sing some songs. I am that good in the English songs. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I don't know. But let me see what we can come up with. And here are my songs. So we're going to start from the top. Hopefully you can see the words. A wicked man. Come on, I want you to sing with me, because my voice in English ain't too good. Hebrew, I'm pretty good. Okay, here we go. Oh, once there was a wicked man, and Haman was his name. He lied and lied about the Jews, though they were not to blame. I think we can all do this. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. And Nasham Haman's husband. And Esther was a lovely queen of King Ahasuerus. When Haman said he'd heard us all, oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. and not some harm in cousin. They answered your question. It's a cousin. And Esther had a cousin, and his name was Mordecai. He asked her, "Can you help us?" And she said, "Of course, I'll try." Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. And not the common cousin is more. When Esther speaking to the king of Haman, what they mentioned. Aha, he said, "Oh no, he won't. I'll spoil his bad intention. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be." And not some common cousin. Here's the whole story. In spite of Haman's awful plan, then the scare he gave us. Esther was so brave and strong, she knew just how to save us. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. And not some harm in caution. We got one more. So Haman got his justice, and we won the day. And Esther will ne'er forget, and on this day we'll say, everybody, oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. Oh, today will merry, merry be. And not some harm in caution. What's your favorite flavor of hamantashen?
Probably the strawberry.
And what do you think mine is?
The poppy seed?
No, she's only 51 years.
The fruit.
Apricots.
Apricot.
Or apricots.
Apricot.
Ani Purim sameach umvadeya alo racham banshana al avalo hitareya la 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 la. My name is Purim, and I come sounds like the other melody. Great fun and frolic bringing. Just once a year I visit you to cheer with you my singing. La 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 la. Chag Purim, Chag Gadol HaYiladim, Mesachot, Rashanot, Zmira, Rakidim, Havana Shop. No. Havanarisha, rush, rush, rush. Havanarisha, rush, rush, rush. Havanarisha, rush, rush, rush. Barahashanayim, the Chag Purim, the holiday of Purim, is a great one for the Jews. I'm making this up as I go because I don't remember the tune. Groggers, song and dances. Come, let us make noise with our groggers. Chag Purim, Chag Gadol HaYiladim, Masachot, Ramashim, Zamira, Rikudim, Havanarisha,
Rush, rush, rush.
Havanarisha,
Rush, rush, rush.
Havanarisha,
Rush, rush, rush.
Bara Ashani. And that's all I got, folks. I don't know any of the other songs. Those are the only ones that I have printed there. And so, on behalf of Carol and I, we are so thrilled to be celebrating Purim with you. We are so thrilled that we've had the opportunity to give you some of the insights about Purim. Thank you. My wife is telling me to stop sharing. And I'll tell you what I'm looking for. And hopefully I can find it. If not, you might be better off that I didn't. Here it is. I found it. So just because we're supposed to have fun, let's try these knock knock jokes. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Haman.
Haman who?
Hey man, what are you doing for Purim? Okay. Now here's another. I got to do this. We're supposed to have fun, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I didn't make these up. I know I didn't have to tell them, but here it goes. By the way, Carol, why didn't Esther receive Mordecai's email?
I don't know.
she had an virus on her computer. Oh yeah, don't you love these? Don't you love these? I think these are absolutely terrific. Hey, I've got a whole bunch more, but you know what? For some reason, I am just not going to tell them because I think maybe I ran out of them. We can do it next time, next year, as we come together for a little bit more of Chag Purim. And what else we got? I think I covered everything, Carol, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. We wanted to make this fun. We wanted to make it a little bit thought-provoking, and we wanted to do some singing and some frivolity. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait to have some delicious hamantashen.
Well, normally, only because you said so. Normally, I wouldn't do that.
I know, but I just thought of it. I might have been the only person in the world to think of it. So listen, have a great Purim. It was our honor to spend time with you. It was our honor to be with you. We look forward to being with you next Purim. We look forward to being with you with all the simchas that we have in our Jewish religion. This is an important one, but you know what's most important? And I'll tell you right from the heart. Seeing you smile that you had a good time on Purim, that's what makes us happy. That's what makes the Chag happy. So, on behalf of
Carol
and Andy, Chag Purim,
Chag
Sameach, happy Purim. We'll see you. Bye-bye.